Holy hella, do I have a Friedrich Nietzsche quote for you guys. All right, so if you don't take anything out of this podcast, but you get this quote, we done did good. I was flicking through like, nutrition podcast. What would be a good quote for this? And then this come up and I was like, oh, god damn. So, Friedrich Nietzsche quote, you ready? What serves the higher type of man as food or refreshment must to a very different and inferior type be almost poison. What does he mean by that? I'll repeat that one more time. Ready? What serves the higher type of man as food or refreshment must to a very different and inferior type be almost poison. So my take on that is to the higher type of man, the people who take responsibility for themselves, the ones who are out and can overcome and command themselves, will choose food as refreshment and nourishing to their bodies. Those people who are inferior won't look at food as food. They will just look at that as, ugh, yuck. Ugh, I'm not having that. That's disgusting. Ew. And perceive it to be as a type of poison. Holy shit. How hectic is that? So the next one we've got here is nothing has been practiced and cultivated among men better or longer than obedience. It's been practiced the longest. It is fair to suppose that as a rule and need for it, the herd instinct, so the herd is like the general common people, the herd instinct of obedience has been inherited best at the expense of the art of commanding. Here's the nuggets. Separate yourself from the herd. Learn how to command and influence. I'll repeat this whole thing again, all right? Just one more time. Nothing has been practiced and cultivated among men better or longer than obedience. It is fair to suppose that, as a rule, a need for it. The herd instinct of obedience has been inherited best at the expense of the art of commanding. Separate yourself from the herd. Learn how to command and influence. By command, he's meaning command yourself, and influence, being able to impact and influence others. Because if you don't, then you're going to be following along the herd, just doing what everyone else is saying and doing, and you'll never self-actualize or individuate yourself. And that can lead to things like anxiety, depression, and the rest of it. So I'd like you guys just to be mindful for those couple of Friedrich Nietzsche quotes. I was like, oh, damn. All right. Okay. So let's get into this podcast. So some nutrition hacks you can actually try. About Wellbeing Podcast, episode 39. Got my Naruto shirt on. It's dope. I'm all about it. All right. So let's do the first hack, right? There's a couple of hacks here. How many have we got? I've just literally noted these down. I'm going to quickly just see how many we actually have. We have 11. There's 11 nutrition hacks here for y'all. So the first one is to start your day with Celtic salt, lemon, and water. And if you don't like lemon, just do Celtic salt and water. Why is that? Well, here's a little nutrition bomb for you. So sodium, the reason that sodium and salt is so bad for us, right, is that like table salt is so bad for us. Not the other salts. Organic sea salt, Himalayan salt, and Celtic salt are actually really good for us. Why? So sodium has been proven that all the sodium stuff and table salt is bad for you because that's what leads to all the bad side effects with things. Now, what is really interesting is that what counteracts and counterbalances sodium is potassium, and there's some sort of ratio, I can't remember exactly what the ratio was, something like 1 gram of sodium to half a gram of potassium. It's something along the lines of that. Don't quote me on that, it's probably incorrect, but it's some sort of ratio like that, right? Potassium balances out the sodium, and once that's balanced out, it's really healthy for you. Celtic salt has one of the best ratios, and it's really high in other minerals such as manganese, magnesium, iron, zinc, copper, all of those good minerals that we need. Now that actually hydrates us. And if you look at the back of a water packet, and you look at the back and you can see what's in the water packet, you'll see that there has the mineral benefits in there. And you're like, what are these things? And it'll say copper, iron, zinc, manganese, magnesium, all of these different things in there. And you're like, why does that count in there? Well, essentially, what actually hydrates us from the water is the salt, right? Is the electrolytes in there. Celtic salt is a perfect salt, nice and high in electrolytes. How good is that? So starting your day, kicking it off with a drink of that also allows your stomach to go through gastric emptying, which is cool, which is where your stomach actually empties things into your small intestine. Once you fill up your stomach enough and have enough water, so that's why I say like start your day with like at least 700 to a liter, 700 mils to a liter of water with Celtic salt and lemon, so that gastric emptying actually happens. So your stomach decides to empty the water into your small intestine. Once it gets into your small intestine, it gets absorbed. So, sorry sniffles, how good is that? Point number 2 is for your breakfast, right? For your breakfast, I encourage you to try no carbs, high fat, and a high micronutrient dense breakfast. What does that look like? Well, if you read the book Genius Foods by Max Lugavere, he talks about like fighting dementia and like helping his mum cure dementia. And one of the things that he talks about is starting your day of breakfast with high fats, a whole bunch of dark leafy greens because what the fats do is they transport all the nutrients out of the dark leafy greens up through your spinal cord into your, up through your spinal cord, into your bloodstream, into your brain. It actually crosses the blood-brain barrier. And if you didn't know this is crazy. Your brain grows plaque on it like your teeth grow plaque on it. Now, one of the best things with nutrition that I have ever learned is basically that taking a preventative action towards things instead of trying to solve problems. So you do all the things to prevent chronic disease or anything from happening, or just to prevent yourself feeling like shit. You can do things to make yourself feel better. One of those things is have this high fat breakfast with dark leafy greens or some sort of high dense nutrients in order to get into your brain, across the blood-brain barrier, clean the plaque out of your brain, and feel fantastic. Now, what fats would I recommend? First thing in the morning, omega-3s. Your brain run off of omega-3s really well. Not anything against omega-6s. It's just more likely for us to run better off of a more omega-3 rich diet than omega-6, because at the moment, how our current diet is, if you just take the normal person, it's just too high in omega-6s. Omega-6s are great, but not in the amount that we currently eat them. So I try to mindfully make sure that I'm getting omega-3s in. What are some foods with omega-3s? Salmon, walnuts, chia seeds, grass-fed meat, sardines, and barramundi. Those things are really good. Sardines specifically because they have a whole bunch of calcium in there, and our body runs off of calcium so well. We need it so much. And also the greens have a bunch of calcium in there as well, which is awesome. So you're thinking, okay, what kind of foods, what kind of meals can I get into this? And guys, stick with me here. So what things can I actually eat then? All right, so number 1. Oh, and olive oil is great too, like a really good quality, fresh, local, cold pressed, organic olive oil. You can get them with the different olive oil contents. House of Health have an olive oil there that's like a really good quality, extra virgin, cold pressed, local organic, because olive oil has about 25% olive oil content or olive content. The one at House of Health that they have at Adelaide Hills, which is a local one from Virginia in Adelaide, their content is 80%. So it's out of control. And if you need these recipes, I actually have the recipe ebook. You can go to the link in my bio or click down in the link in the on this YouTube video or the Spotify link. You can click on the link and you can see a page for my recipe ebook, and you can go and have a look at have a look at it and what's actually involved in it, and then you can make the decision whether to purchase it or not. It's got all these recipes in there. So back again, what are the things that I'm actually going to eat? And I also have some articles on my website, 26 ingredient shopping list, total ingredient shopping list on CoreyBoutwell.com, and meal prep strategies, which will help with all of this. But in all honesty, all of the stuff and all the good things are put into that recipe ebook. It may really benefit you. Recipes you can have is a salad. Make a salad that has some awesome dressings on there, like olive oil. You've got some walnuts in there. You're using some fatty fish, omega-enriched eggs. So you can get eggs. They're high in fats, obviously. It's got the yolk in there, which is going to transport stuff up. You're either going to have eggs, salmon, sardines, grass-fed beef, something along the lines of those. Or you can have a bone broth in the morning as well. Awesome. You can get a 12% discount on that bone broth. Link down below here or on my website, CoreyBoutwell.com. Or you can listen to the bone broth episode 38 About Wellbeing podcast as well. That goes deep into bone broth and why it's really good. So you've got that as one ingredient. So a salad with any of those as a protein, making sure that you have the salad with dark green leafy vegetables such as spinach and anything that's cruciferous like spinach as well. You want to wilt it. You want to slightly cook it because it's got some things in there that aren't really good for you. Obviously, if it's like you can't be bothered and whatever it is, it's going to be better eating spinach than it is some like uncooked spinach and what it is McDonald's. But it's better for you for things like kale and spinach to actually wilter them a little bit. That's like a little bit of time in the microwave, or a little bit of frying in a pan, or a little bit of hot water on top of them. You choose. So you can wilt them like that. So spinach, bok choy, kale, mustard greens, anything like that, dark leafy greens, which is really good. And then what I like to use is I slice the skin off my cucumbers, celery, spinach, some pumpkin seed oil, some olive oil, some vinegar, some lemon and lime, and then either chuck in sardine, salmon, barramundi. Sometimes I will do tuna as well. Use a whole bunch of that olive oil. Really good. So that's one meal you can have. The second one can just be a smoothie. Put it all in a smoothie. Make a protein shake in a smoothie. Put a whole bunch of berries in there, frozen berries, because frozen berries are really good. Get some of the greens in there. So put a little bit of kale, a little bit of spinach. Make sure you wilt it first. Chuck a whole bunch of chia seeds and walnuts in there, omega-3s. And then maybe like something else that's going to make it like taste good. So like a little bit of protein powder, maybe a little bit of honey, a little bit of, you could use maple syrup, something like that. But frozen berries are awesome. You chuck frozen berries into a blender and you blend it up with a couple of those green ingredients, a couple of those green vegetables, some chia seeds, some walnuts for your omega-3s, and then, a little bit of water or organic oat milk or organic almond or coconut milk. So damn good and super cleansing for your guts as well. So that's really good. Or you can make a chia seed pudding. Very easy. You just get a whole bunch of chia seeds, put again all the omega-3s, you put in a bunch of good fats, whether it's like a little bit of coconut milk, coconut cream, coconut oil, something like that, some walnuts, making sure that you're putting some protein in there too, so you can put an egg in there, or you can chuck in like some protein powder. I recommend with protein powder using hydrolyzed collagen protein. Very good. That is if you are not a vegan, because it's definitely not vegan. So use something like that, or your protein powder of choice. Make it the night beforehand, put a little bit of water in there, and then let it sit overnight. Then you have this like tasty as chia seed pudding. Again, if you need those recipes, you can grab my recipe ebook. That is all good for you if you want to get those like all balanced and stuff. But you can Google them. You can find awesome ones on Google that are specific to you. All you want to know is greens, bit of protein, omega-3s, and the good fats to transport it up into your brain. How good is that? Hack number 3, cook your veggies. And when you cook them, chop them up very, very small. So there's one thing. If people are like, oh no, I don't like veggies. Oh God, veggies again. Like I've literally had 2 of my close friends, one of my cousins, his name is Adam, and one of my very close friends, Glenn, hate veggies. Glenn has made videos of himself literally just like, ooh, how much he makes veggies and hates veggies and his relationship with them and how he hates them. So it wasn't until Adam got inspired by listening to some of my podcasts and ended up trying some of the recipes, and he was like, oh my God, I hate veggies. And I was like, look, just chop them up really small, do this, and they'll taste good. He's like, I have no problems with like any of the veggies anymore, the ones that you suggest. No problems. I'll eat as many as I need. So good. My buddy Glenn, he literally had to come over and he's like, all right, can you show me how to damn cook veggies? Because this one time we were cooking dinner and I was making veggies for him and I cut everything up really small, had a different selection of vegetables, cut them up, fried them in a little bit of oil, Celtic salt and a touch of vinegar. And I remember him for the first time going to eat veggies and like, he was looking at him like, oh, yuck. And he grabbed his fork and he put it into his mouth and he was all like, oh, waiting for it to go in there, shoved it in, took a couple of bites, put the fork down, looked at me and was like, what? And then he grabbed the fork again, had a couple more bites, and he was like, this is the first time I have ever eaten veggies and then wanted to eat more. This is coming from a guy who likes to eat, when he goes to McDonald's and orders a burger, he gets a cheeseburger and says, no relish, no tomato sauce, no onions, just bun, cheese, meat. Like that's how much he hates veggies. And now he eats veggies all the time. He's back on the veggies train. And basically the veggies that I like to use are something along the lines of broccolini, capsicum, purple cabbage, and bok choy, and Brussels sprouts. That would be a very basic of what I like to do. I chop them up, figure them out very, very small. I figure out how to slice them in a certain way and then chop them up small, cook them in the pan. The other hack to that is that they cook so much quicker. All right. Once they're in there and they've cooked, you've done a little bit more chopping time, but the vegetables do not take long at all to cook. You wait until they just go a little bit dark and green, and essentially they're done. If you need some recipes for that, again, you can get my recipe ebook for $25 just by clicking on the links below. You'll find it there somewhere. Yeah, but there's the super importance to that. Also, what is extremely beneficial to cutting up your veggies very, very small is that your digestion is so much better. Like by cutting them up that small, your body gets to digest them really well. For me, I suck at chewing. I hate chewing. I just inhale. So I cut my veggies up really small, get those few bits of chew in there, swallow, have a much better digestion rather than having huge chunk of vegetables. Also, a little hack for you as well. If you like butternut pumpkin, cut that up small. When you cook the veggies, cook the pumpkin first with a little bit of grass-fed butter and salt. Let that simmer till the pumpkin almost goes like brown, and then add your veggies in, and y'all don't even need seasoning. That is just ridiculously tasty. All right, so the next one, we're going to get through these, is the importance of food diversity. Buy veggies, firstly, as much as you can, buy them organic. Whenever you get the chance, I get it. It's hard, 2020. I don't always buy organic, but I try to. Try to once a week, at least buy a whole bunch of organic veggies, right? Most of my meals are vegetables. And again, if you're like, eating veggies, literally, you can try some of my recipes, cut that shit up small, mix a few things together, fry them with some salt, pepper, a little bit of olive oil and vinegar, and you'll be like, what the hell? It tastes so good. But you got to commit. You got to commit to that. So if you haven't already do this, like, committed to that, like, say it to yourself, I commit to veggies, yeah. So yeah, but the importance of food diversity is extremely important. So they've done studies on like blue zone people. And if you don't know what blue zone are, they did a whole bunch of studies for who lived the longest out of humans. And they come up with a few different countries and who lived the longest and the happiest and the healthiest were all these, what they call blue zones. Okinawa, Japan, somewhere in Europe, blah, blah, blah. And what they found was that these people eat like 300 or something different species of plants and animals a year, right? They eat with the seasons, different things grow. And just think about like, okay, what is the main things that we've got? We've got a handful of veggies at the shops. We've got a handful of herbs and a whole bunch of different fruits. And then a couple of like fermented things in like the shelves. And then other than that, we've just got like muscle meat. Now, where all the nutrients come from is I highly recommend people eat organ meat as much as they can. Even if they put a little bit of stuff in, or occasionally eat organ meat if they can. I think that is extremely important because it's super highly nutritious. Now, when it comes to vegetables, is challenge to you listening to this podcast. If you've gotten to here, fucking awesome. But a huge challenge to you every single day, I'd not say every day. I'll say every time you shop for the next every time you shop from now on, right? Get one vegetable that you have not tried before, right? What that does is just allow you to figure out what you like and what you don't like. Mix it in with your food, taste it, cut it up small. If it tastes like shit, if it's really bad, throw it out, don't use it, and then recook again. If it isn't and you figure out it tastes good, awesome. Go for gold. I did not realize how good fennel was in a salad, like cutting up and using fennel. So I was like, oh, that fennel thing looks weird. I'm going to try that. Oh my goodness. I never would have liked bok choy, even though there is all the science out for how ridiculously good and healthy bok choy is for you, unless I was like, all right, I'm going to try this new thing. Never would have liked Brussels sprouts unless one day I was like, oh, and I'm going to try these, cut them up really small, and now they're literally like my favorite thing. Same with purple cabbage. Purple cabbage is full of so many antioxidants. Anything purple is, and I did the research on purple cabbage, and I was like, I'm going to try this. As well as that, I try to eat a lot of turmeric, a lot of ginger. I have a whole bunch of herbs, coriander, parsley, basil. I'm always adding them into my ingredients, and then trying new little different things. Shallots, sweet potatoes, purple potatoes, and then other ingredients like tapioca flour, almond meal flour, coconut flour, maca root flour, different types of medicinal mushrooms, and different types of, I used arrowroot flour the other day to make some pancakes. Now, where do I do these? Well, most of the time I go to Central Market in Adelaide, or a market or a health food store like House of Health in the Adelaide Central Market. They're so good because they have all these different, what you can get of vegetable and plant species, and they're just made into powders and different things like that you can use, so you don't have to actually eat the vegetable. You can try those as well. And so just creating that different diversity and going out and just being willing to try one new thing every time you shop will increase the diversity, because what happens is the reason you want different types of food into your gut is that your gut has millions and billions and millions and billions of bacteria all up in, I sound like Donald Trump then, eh? Have you seen that Donald Trump video when it's just like the meme of him and he's just like billions and billions and billions and billions. If you haven't YouTube Trump billions, and it's one of the funniest YouTube videos ever. Anyway, sidetrack. You have billions and billions and billions of bacteria in your gut, and different types of food have different bacteria which you want to get into your gut, so that, you know, the vegetables have the good bacteria. You get them in, it's going to create a bunch of diversity, which is going to be really good for digesting and pre-populating your gut flora, making sure that you have a very healthy gut. Now, the thing is if you guys don't know what organic is, I'm going to let you know. So what organic literally means is that your food hasn't been sprayed with shit. And it's very hard. And that's why, you know, sometimes shopping and looking at organic food is all wrapped in plastic. You're like, plastic. Poison on the veggies. So it's like, you can't bloody win. So you just do as best as you can. Try the different vegetables, wash them before you have them, and use vinegar to cook with them, because vinegar kills what's a lot of the stuff off of there. You can even just pour vinegar over your vegetables if you like when you're rinsing your vegetables, to get rid of all of the bad stuff. All right, to the next one. Okay, so this is a preventative exercise. I dare you for 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks to not eat anything out of a packet. Holy shit, that's hard. Most of all the bad things come in a packet. Obviously, I go through periods eating some things in packets and then not. Mainly meaning snacks and things. So if you're going to buy something, you're going to buy it from a butcher. You just don't get a packet of meat. Buy it from a butcher, or you go to the deli section somewhere and you get a bunch of fish instead of a packet. And I didn't say can. Obviously, you can eat out of a can, but anything out of a packet, or if you have to put it into a packet, you can't eat it. Try that. See how hard that is. It is ridiculously hard. And if you try that, honestly, set yourself a goal and commit to a month. Even if you need to, pause this video, message your partner, tell someone you live with, whatever. I'm going to commit to not eating anything out of a packet for a month. But then notice how hard and difficult the changes are when you go to the shop. You literally have to switch your perception around when you go to the food shops to get stuff done. And one of the things that I think is really important with food and nutrition, sniffles, what comes down to it is literally what you do in the shops. Don't go to the shops hungry, and it's your purchasing power and having maximal willpower going to the shops. Going into the shops to buy food and being intentional into the shops, like, I will not buy anything shit, right? I struggle with this really hard, but being really intentional and going, that's it, I'm not buying anything bad today. I'm just going to do this shop as best as I can. Hence why going to the central markets I find very beneficial, or just being mindful about that when going to the shops. Super beneficial for you. I challenge you to try that. Here's a fact for you. Here's another point. Here's a fact. 10% of processed food, right, in our diet, the more percentage that we have. So every time that our diet increases by 10% of processed food, our chance of chronic disease increases by 14%. Now, think about how much processed food you're eating right now and your diet. You think about how many times you eat a day, how many times you eat a week. What is it? 80%? Is it 20%? Is it only 10%? What's processed food? Start thinking about it. Have a bit of a look. Figure that out. Because you want to reduce your chance of chronic disease as much as possible, reducing eating processed food. Go through your house. This is a challenge for you. This is a challenge and another point. Go through your house and throw out a bunch of shit. Now, I am going to call out my sister, Tess Green, and her partner, Chris Green, to go through your pantries, because I've been in there, and throw out everything. I go and look at their pantry like, if this was in my house right now, I would be having a ball in here. I'd be eating absolutely damn everything. Go in, and all the stuff that you're emotionally attached with that you think, oh, but that's really good. Oh, I want to have that. Oh, I could save that for later. I might have that another day. Chuck it out. Good damn buy. Now, what happens if you have an already good pantry and the rest of it? This is what I'm literally doing this weekend. I've got to challenge myself this weekend because I did this podcast, and that is to clean and rearrange my kitchen and throw out anything small, unnecessary that I don't need, and arrange everything so that it's nice and neat, and chuck everything that I have in bags into jars so that they are nice and organized. And yes, anything that I haven't used or that is old, get it, chuck it out, clean it. So that is a challenge for me if you haven't got a whole bunch of shit to throw out, but I think that most people that are listening to this are. Again, if you have to, pause the video, tell someone we're doing a massive clean out Saturday and Sunday. Tess and Chris, throw all of those good, tasty foods in the bin. Sorry. You heard the Friedrich Nietzsche quote right here. This is that good old quote. What serves the higher type of man as food or refreshment? So the good food and refreshment to the higher type of man must be very different to an inferior type and be almost poison. Don't be inferior. Be the higher version of yourself. Throw the shit food out. Choose the good food. So, I don't know what this point is. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 11 minus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is point number 7 or 8. Go to a market. Shop at the markets. Find a markets near you. Head to the central markets if you're in Adelaide, but head to a market and buy a bunch of food. Even if you make it once a month to go there, just because you're getting that different biodiversity. If you can go there weekly, even better. If you can go there all the time, you're the best. Try to shop from as much as possible markets, health food stores. If you really need to, you don't have the time, there's plenty of online health food stores and places you can go to. One that's really good for just like herbs and bulk buying things and looking at different recipes that I use in my recipe ebooks is thesourcebulkfoods.com. Thesourcebulkfoods.com. Just because they have a whole bunch of different powders and like Ceylon cinnamon, cacao powder. They have like the different like maca root stuff. They got the mushrooms. They got a whole bunch of really good organic nuts and things like that you can use. And I like to buy those in bulk. They have the Celtic salts. They have the different types of salts. You can use them in bulk. They'll last you for 6 months to a year, which is really damn handy. So you can go there and try those. If not, there's plenty of online places. You just have to have a bit of a look around, or try to shop as much as markets as possible. Now that's very hard for me as well. So like making that shift to be like, all right, I need to go to the markets. I need to go to a market and do my food shopping instead of Coles or Woolworths. My God, it's so easy to buy at Coles and Woolworths, but the food is actually so much better and cheaper. Every time I look at my Coles shopping bag and go, there's $100 there. I do the same shop in a market and I'm like, there's $65 there. If you think about that over if you're doing that every single week over a certain period of time, you're like, God damn, I've saved myself so much money. Next point, do not charcoal your meat. So I got my DNA test, and from my DNA test, it's like you are not good at detoxifying things. What is the most toxic thing? That is cooking meat on a too high temperature in oils that aren't good in high temperature either, like olive oil. However, extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin coconut oil, avocado oil are very good for cooking things in high temperatures. Not so much the olive oil, but more the coconut oil and the avocado oil. Avocado oil is probably the best if you're going to cook something really hot. Now, how do you counteract that? Firstly, you can cook your meat slow, or you can watch it. Or you can put vinegar or lemon on your steak or meat, whatever it is, beforehand, before putting it into a pan, and that will protect it from charcoaling. How good is that, man? There's so many ingredients that just help with things. So yes, that is a huge hack for not charcoaling your meat. I challenge you to try it. Lemon or vinegar makes it taste delicious as well. And yes, try not to charcoal your meat. So number 10 is food selection. Food selection. If you need to know what to buy, you got to pick something that you like, you enjoy, that you can fit into your daily, weekly routine and meal prep. I have an article, how to meal prep on my website. I've got the shopping list on my website, and I have the recipe ebook you can buy for $25. You can use all of those. Free stuff, CoreyBoutwell.com, recipe ebook, $25, link below. You can use any of the stuff to select the right food. Now, what that basically means is, again, what I said beforehand, being intentional when you're shopping for your ingredients. Now, just the last point, 11, is just a couple of books that I think is really important for you guys to read if you want to dive in further. And that is, the one is Genius Foods, Max Lugavere. Number 2 is The Food Fix by Mark Hyman. And number 3 is The Bulletproof Diet for Dave Asprey, right? So it takes one thing is like, all right, eating all this healthy food. And then it's like, how do I actually apply this healthy food to me? And how do I schedule it throughout the day so that it's most optimal for my brain and my energy? Now, that is some of the hacks that you go through when you get a coach. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you got a little bit out of what we're going through there. The 11 points really quickly. Start your day with Celtic salt and water. Choose a low carb, high fat, high dense micronutrient breakfast. Cook your veggies up really small. The importance of food diversity. Try and buy your stuff organic. Try not to eat anything out of a packet. 10% of processed food increases the chance of chronic disease by 14%. Shop at a market near you, or the central markets, or thesourcebulkfoods.com. Do not charcoal your meat. Food selection. And the books were Genius Foods, Food Fix, and The Bulletproof Diet. So big love to you guys. I'll put those notes in the show notes below so you can have a little bit of a look at them. Extra notes is just jump on my website, look at the meal prep article and the ingredient shopping list articles, or you can get the recipe ebook, which has all the good stuff on there. So yeah, guys, sending some huge love for you. I hope you got some little tips and things that are here that you can actually go take and use. Any of the paused items, go out there and get after them. How do you want to learn and retain this information is to talk about it with someone. What you've learned from here, someone who is happy and willing and open to receive the gift of you telling them this information. Let them know this stuff so it sinks into your brain so you don't forget it. Anyway, guys, if you like this, I'd love it for a share on your story. That would mean the world to me. If not, all good. I see how it is. No, I'm kidding. All right, guys, big love. See you in the next one.